Hi, this is Gina with Now What with Gina, where I answer questions, offer tips, and say stupid shit that I'm sure I will later regret about addiction, sobriety, and recovery. And tonight I've asked Vince to join me on Now What with Gina so he can say stupid shit too.
I never say stupid shit.
No, not at all. Anyways, if you are joining tonight, I want to start out with a few things. If you have a question, please feel free to let us know. If we see the question, we will answer them. Tonight, if we don't, we may save it for later, or if the question's too complicated, we may save it for later. And we have someone joining us. Hello, Carla. I think that's Carla. Hi, thank you for joining us. This is Now What with Gina. There comes a time when we get sober. When I got sober, I said, now sober, now what do I do? And we're going to talk some about that today. Not today, actually. We're talking about different things today. Today we are going to talk about, what are we talking about?
Signs.
Signs, yes. Signs to look for.
Said long hair, freaky people.
Signs to look for when you're someone you care about is dealing with an addiction, and we're doing that. Normally I talk about people with addiction and talk about topics to help us recover and to live a happier life, but we are getting ready to open the Now Sober Academy, and so we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit. In the Now Sober Academy, we talk mostly about whole family recovery, not just the person with the addiction, but there's things that the family has to do to recover as well.
Whole family recovery as opposed to half family recovery or a quarter family or a third. Now we'd actually just going to get the dad jokes out of the way early.
Yeah.
We just talk about that. We know that this addiction stuff is kind of a family disease. The solution relies on the whole family being able to address some of their behaviors and accept that. And it takes more than just a couple of lives to cover that. So that's what we do at Now Sober Academy. But today we're going to talk about signs. A lot of what we get is this a problem? Or is it just a problem drinking and drugging? Or are they recreational? Or is there an addiction going on? Those are questions that we ask ourselves. And then sometimes when we get loved ones back from treatment centers and stuff, sometimes they show up and they've got certain behaviors that kind of remind us of back when they were using and stuff. And like, are they using again? They sure do seem to be angry a lot and stuff like that. So the signs that we're going to talk about are not really in and of themselves, or any one or two or three of them might not be an indication that they're back using or doing drugs. It could just be in the case of like a young teenager. Some of these things are just being a teenager, learning how to express yourself and grow up and be independent, and struggling with the appropriate ways versus inappropriate ways of doing that. So, we'll talk some about these signs, and then more than one of them, a group of them start to come in and play. You can actually, the more of these are in play, the more that you can probably feel like, yeah, probably is some using going on.
Yep. All right, about ready to start?
Let's go.
We're going to start in just a second. I have realized that I've got cameras all over the place. So I'm moving, for those of you on Instagram, I'm moving you because I am using the wrong camera. That did not work. Oh, no, I'm using the right camera. Oh, sorry. Oh, this is what happens when you go live.
And no matter what you do, I still look bald. I look bald-headed and gray. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I know why. Here's what happened. I've got a couple cameras on, and I'm trying to identify what I'm looking at, and I was looking at the wrong thing. So anyway, so here we go. Oh, Andrea. Hey, Andrea. Andrea's joined.
Hey, Andrea.
This is my guy, Andrea. This is Vince. He's my partner. He's my guy. Real quick, if you are on YouTube or other channels, you hit subscribe and like and all that great stuff. And you'll get notified when we go live. I try to do it once a week. It's been Thursday at 7 o'clock, Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. However, because of the academy, I'm going to change those times up a little bit. I'm going to have to experiment with a few different times because we have a class on Thursday nights that we have to hold. So just so you know, also, if you want to join the Now Sober Facebook group, just head on over to Facebook. And it is, I'm looking at the Sobriety Coach Fox. You can look under that, or Now Sober groups, under groups, and you can find it there. So let's go back to this. What are the physical signs? We're going to start with physical signs.
Yeah, there are several. There's physical signs that we'll talk about. There's emotional signs, intellectual signs. We'll get into another one.
Relational signs.
Relational.
Yes.
All right, so let's start with the physical. So what's one of the first things that you might notice?
Sleep patterns. Your sleep patterns will change, for everything from sleeping more to sleeping less. But also the changes is the times they sleep. I know when I was drinking, I would stay up later at night to party and have fun. But then that meant I had to sleep longer the next day, or I was hungover, so I didn't want to get up, so I slept more the next day. Also, if you are doing methamphetamines and other drugs like that, uppers, you might be up for 3 days, before you get enough, can fall asleep.
Right, long periods of time, right. And then there's weight loss, weight gain. A lot of the uppers and speed and stuff like that, people will lose a lot of weight fast. And then with beer drinking and stuff like that, you got the old beer gut. Yeah.
And then pot. I mean, pot,
we just all eat. Yep.
Might find your the person you're concerned about stuck in a refrigerator, and with their butt getting a little bit bigger than normal.
And the munchies, as we used to talk about.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I want you to talk about skin changes they can look for, because
this one is one that just probably lasts a little bit longer, but the skin changes. There can be a lack of blood, a lack of skin tone due to nutrition, due to dehydration, especially with the speed and the uppers. They can also start having just regular skin problems through a lack of cleanliness of bathing or stuff like that. There can be jaundice if there's in the later stages of alcoholic addiction and stuff like that. So the skin can be definitely an indication that there's some stuff going on.
Yeah, and then there's some drugs that lead to picking. So there ends up being like sores and stuff like that.
Scabbings and stuff.
Yeah. And bags under the eyes. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yep. And then speaking of eyes, there's the eyes themselves: blurred vision, bloodshot eyes, dilated pupils. Most people should be equal and reactive, but when we do drugs, they're not reactive. They don't go with the lights, get smaller and bigger and adjust to the light and stuff like that. So that's some of the physical signs. There might be more than that.
There is actually. I was just thinking about one more, which is hygiene. A lot of times when someone's using, they may not be taking showers like they should. I know that I wasn't putting on makeup as much. I wasn't doing that on a regular basis because I just didn't want to. I didn't feel like I needed. So the hygiene can change as well.
All right, let's go on.
All right. Behavioral. First signs, I would say, is the secrecy. If you're trying to hide your drugs, there's a sense of secrecy. You don't want to find it. You have problems with people going into your room because they might find it in there. Is there other secrecy issues you might be concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, just all of a sudden keeping things private that used to be open, doors locked, showing up. If somebody goes into the car or goes someplace, all of a sudden there's this nervousness, like, what are you doing? What are you going on? But keeping things to themselves, covering things up. The other one is lying. When you chronically see somebody lie done over and over again. Because getting high and drinking and drugging is something that becomes precious. It's something that they want to protect, and those of us who use will go to any lengths almost to make sure that we have that high or that. So, we're going to keep it a secret. We're going to lie. The typical changes, hobbies and friends change, especially in the
Yeah.
teenage years, the young teenage years. You'll see that they'll start, maybe they were in band and then they quit band. I used to see that a lot when I was a band director. One of the things is they'd quit hanging around types of friends and go out. Their clothes change, um, the way they look, the way they handle themselves, the way they value themselves. You'll see those changes, yeah. And then there's legal work or school troubles. You see students' grades, they go from an A student to a D student almost overnight. That's a sign.
I did that. I did that.
It's a sign of drug use or even some other kinds of abuse or some stuff that goes on. Legal troubles, obviously, work trouble, and a spouse.
Yeah, if they're calling in sick on a regular basis.
Missed paychecks, that sort of stuff. Yep. So
moving on. Next, we have emotional things that you can look for. And there are a lot of emotional things that you can look for. The first one is mood swings, shifting from a happy mood to, a sad or an angry mood is quite typical. While you're on the drug, in 1 minute, you may be very happy because, you're on the drug, or you may be on a very down state. I know when I smoked pot, I would just be in a haze. I really didn't know that I had any emotions unless it was a silly pot, and then I'd laugh at everything. When the drugs start to wear off, and if they're feeling withdrawals from it, it could make them angry. So that could quickly shift from a very happy-go-lucky, intoxicated state to an angry, I don't have the drug in my system anymore state. So
these mood swings are onset kind of suddenly. We all get up and get down and get excited and get scared and all those normal things, but these are mood swings, which means they move from one extreme to the other. Then there's depression, and which is not necessarily sadness. It's just a lack. Depression in this thing is a lack of motivation.
Right.
Get up, drive, want to do stuff, spend long times in the room, that sort of stuff. And then,
but it can also be, though, literal depression. When I was drinking, I was literally depressed. So, and certain drugs will put that in you. Alcohol is a depressant. You don't know it at first, because at first there's a sense of excitability. The
stimulates
dopamine comes, but then eventually it becomes that depressant, and then that's why we have sloppy crying drunks, in the bars. I know there was a few nights when I had that, and you just couldn't stop them from crying. It's because they hit a depressed state.
Yep. And then there's the irritability, where they become irritable. And then the other thing in the emotional thing is where they become aggressive. They go from they turn defensiveness in and outward pretty quick. They get defensive, and then they become aggressive with their defense. Kind of that the best defense is a good offense.
Yes.
Kind of thing. Misdirection, gaslighting, which is comes from that movie about where they slowly turn the lady's lights down in the house, the gas light down a little bit, and she said it's getting dark in here, and they made her feel like she was crazy. So that comes from gaslighting, where they make you question whether you are really seeing things right. Yeah, your perception is maybe not right. So then that's not necessarily emotional. I mean, that's a behavioral one, in where they get that. Get you to see something different. All right, let's go on.
What was that movie? Do you know the name of the movie?
Yeah, Gaslight.
Oh, that's simple.
I don't know.
I might check it out.
If you know it, put it in the chat.
Oh.
I think the name of the movie was Gaslight.
Okay.
But it could have been something else. I think it was something else. So
I don't remember.
All right, stay tuned. We'll never ever tell you the name of it. I think I saw somebody just flashed a lot. We'll never tell you the name of it, but we'll get you wondering. We don't always have the answers, but we have the right questions.
Sometimes. Sometimes. Relational. Yeah, that's our last one, is relational, and that has to do with family members, loved ones. How are you getting along, or how is your loved one getting along with the people around them? with their brothers and sisters, you can expect those to fight anytime, but it might be increased if they are dealing with drugs. If they seem to be, it's hard to have a good relation with someone who are, and we're gonna talk about some of these signs, but who are doing some of these things, and who's just not completely there. So it's going to affect the relationships that they have with you.
And this is a hard one. But one of the things that we need to look at is, are their words and their behaviors matching?
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're saying one thing, but their behavior is something else. So you have to trust your own perception of that. And once again, in an isolated situation or two, it's not that big of a deal. But if there's an ongoing pattern of behaviors being outside of what they say they were doing, then there's a problem. Don't need to be delusional about that. There's a problem coming up. Misread social cues.
Yeah,
this is interesting. You've got some experience.
Yeah, I actually do. I did some research. I was dating someone who years ago who was at one time addicted to meth. Not him. He was addicted to meth. I had no idea, and I've never done meth, so I didn't quite understand the drug and the effects. And I something wasn't right. I was looking for these clues. Something wasn't right, so I did some research, and what I discovered is that some drugs hinder your ability to read social cues properly. So I remember on one occasion I smiled. I was very happy. I smiled. It was funny. I don't remember what exactly brought this on, but I smiled, and it was clear that he read this as an aggression. I was accusing him of something, and he was trying to protect it. And when I did the research, this comes from the misread social cues, this things that happen in the brain that change, whether they're on the drugs or sometimes there's permanent damage, because these inability to read the social cues can occur for up to 10 years after they have recovered from the drug, stop using the drug.
Stop using the drug. Right?
Yeah.
So, and then the last one is isolation. Which is different than just wanting to spend some good quality alone time. Isolation is they don't have friends. They just spend long times in the rooms. When come out, grab their food at the dinner table and go right back in. You almost have to force them to stay. They want to eat in the room. They want to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes teenagers get moody. Going through those hormonal stages can be tough on the best of us. But it shouldn't be a long time, shouldn't be permanent, shouldn't be chronic, as they say, ongoing all the time. Right. So isolation.
Right.
So I want to touch back with Jeanna that in and of itself, one or two or three of these signs is not necessarily an indication that there's a serious problem. We all are human. But if there's several of these and they're stacking up, and this is a time that you're probably going to want to get some help with what to do around this. If somebody is an adult and they're an adult child years or something, your choices are a lot more limited than if somebody's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, at that age. There's professional help that can be done there. And there's certainly stuff like the Al-Anon rooms and 12 steps and Nor-Anon, where you can go to other parents that's doing that. Because we can't force somebody, even at the early teenage years, you can't force somebody to do something. You just can't make people do right. By the time a kid gets to be about 14 years old, they're pretty much on the path, their path, one they're choosing. Or a little earlier, we can have some influence and all that stuff. But about around that age, as they start getting independent, it can be real scary to let them go and let them do this, because they're not making good decisions if they're high or on drugs. It's good.
This also leads us to what we're doing with Now Sober Academy. As we said at the beginning of this live, that the Academy works with the whole family. And right now we are starting with the family program as opposed to the person with substance use disorder program. And we are opening up, I don't know exactly when we're opening up Now Sober Academy, but it's going to be real soon. And when we do, we are starting with a course called Foundations of Recovery.
Yep.
I had to think about that for a second. And that will have the foundational things that you should know or need to know, might want to know about helping your loved one with recovery, how to talk to them. What else is in there?
Well, it's going to be 6 weeks. We'll
Hmm.
start off with the webinar where we cover some stuff about what types of healthy behaviors that are within the
Right.
family that can help somebody see. We found that you can't force somebody really to get recovery. You can shame them or force them into treatment or something like that. And
That doesn't work.
well, it only
Sometimes.
works about 14-15% or
Right.
22. That's it. Just traditional 12-step Al-Anon approaches work about 14% of the time. If you force somebody into recovery, that only works about 22% of the time. But if you change the whole dynamics of the family and open up a safe place for them to work and be responsible for themselves and stuff, they find that about 65% of the people self intervene, get help on their own. And then several years later, 2 to 5 years later, there's a high percentage of people that are still in recovery. Right. In those 6 classes, we're going to cover such things that people probably really don't think about much, but I have found that really helps, such as behaviors make sense. Everybody's behaviors make sense to them. They're not doing something against you. They're doing something for themselves. One size doesn't fit all is another thing that we'll spend some time talking about. People have to find their own way. Believe it or not, young adults and on have to find their own way, and they have to have the freedom to work out all of those plans that they have that aren't going to work till they find the thing that works for them. There's ambiguity.
Mm-hmm.
We want to get better and not get better at the same time. So how do you deal with that? How do you help somebody move from the negative side of ambiguity to the good side?
One of the most amazing things that Vince has said to me, and then there's a lot, so it's hard to pick this out, but I remember this and keep coming back. It's okay to want and not want at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I felt. I wanted to quit drinking and I didn't want to quit drinking at the same time. And that's the ambiguity we have. And the course will kind of help you understand some of the ambiguities and why, and
which ones to pay attention to, mm-hmm. and which ones to
mm-hmm.
not. Help you decide which ones. And then there is, the most important thing that we can do at any time is listen. Actively listen to our people. So we learn how to listen, how to do active listening to understand and not listening to change or listening to argue. So we got some great exercises in there about how to do that. Motivational interviewing, where instead of giving advice, we ask open-ended questions and mm-hmm. guide people in a real sense of wanting to know what they think and guiding them towards what they've done.
Yeah.
Accentuating the positive and ignoring the negative. And every one of these things is not just knowledge where we pour out all this great knowledge and that knowledge is good. We really believe that this knowledge needs to become behaviors. So we do behaviors, we give you worksheets, stuff like that, so that you can get in touch with that behaviors that you can change and do differently. And then most importantly, we give you an opportunity to practice in a safe environment so that you can kind of get used to the discomfort, make mistakes or whatever in an environment that's safe, so that when you really start practicing that with your loved ones, it'll be a little easier to do that. Won't feel quite as strange. And when you practice with your loved ones and it didn't go quite as expected, you can come back and find some people just like you, mm-hmm. us, and some other people just like you that can help you with, well, I wonder if, and you could have with this, that.
Yes. And we want to be very active in there. The 6-week course, we're coming on to do that live, mm-hmm. as well as the practice activities. We'll be there together to work help you through some of this stuff that you'll be working on. And we also have a discussion board where you can post questions and pose answers and talk between them, amongst each other. And new things constantly. We have, he's given you some of the ideas that we're going to be presenting in the 6-week course, but our plans are to present new courses every month.
Well, we want to set a foundation. That's mm-hmm. why we called it foundations, the roadmap to family recovery. We want to set that foundation because we'll be cycling back to those behaviors, but then we want to build on them. I'm a band director, so if your band only stayed in that first method book, You know, the band didn't sound very good,
No.
but you had to go do a good job of getting that basic method down, and then you just kept building on that, refining the music, refining the instruments, and just keep on getting better and better at it. And you know, and help. We all get to the place where we don't have results. We want results, 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 but it's the process that we
Yeah.
participate in that provides the results, not focusing on trying to force the results.
Watch for that. And go to Now Sober Academy if you're interested and you want to learn more. It's nowsoberacademy.com or nowsobercoach.com. You can get there. Now Sober Coach has a lot more information on everything available about what we do, but Now Sober Academy is where we're going to have the membership. So pick one.
And right now we're kind of open. Eventually we're going to start charging for that membership. But right now, for a limited time only, if you go sign up, you can get an extended period of time where it's no charge. Don't know how long it's going to last.
I have that closed up. Well, call us and we will see what we can do.
You send us an email to Jeanna at nowsober.com.
Yeah.
We'll get you in there
Right.
to start with. We're looking, you know, right now we just want to get some people in there, get the word out, get some feedback. This is early on as we go forward.
Yes. All right. Is that it?
I think so.
I want to thank you for joining me. This is the first time, and
this is actually the very beginning of Now Sober Academy. Just live.
Yeah.
The very first thing. If you're we got 2 or 3 out there. If you were out there, you can say, "Wow, I was there at the beginning."
Andrea's been with me for a while now.
Andrea was here before the beginning.
Yes. Anyways, that's about it for tonight. We will come back on Thursday. We are going to talk about myths that, you know, as a family member, you might believe about recovery. So yeah, there's a couple ways to look at it. This time. Again, we're talking in terms of Now Sober Academy and helping the families recover. So we're going to talk about the myths that you may be thinking about recovery and addiction, and
then there's the web. Yep. Then there's the webinar, which is actually the start. We're going to talk about something about Rat Park, about how the opposite of addiction is connection. So we're going to talk about that, about this connection, how important it is.
If you want to get to the webinar, they can't get to it through the normal channels. Go to Facebook at Now Sober Coach, or connect with me. You can message me and I will get you the right links. But you know, the webinars through Eventbrite, and it's posted on my Facebook.
Yeah, that's
page,
Jeanna, Jeanna at nowsobercoach.com.
Yep.
We're here. We want to help.
All right, I think that's it. Thank you, Vince.
That wailing, you hear people crying, and it's over. I think they're sad. They're really sad.
I'm really glad this went very well. I was getting a little concerned because I hadn't had you on with me. So.
I just got one important question.
What?
I'm hungry. What's for dinner?
Don't know.
You don't know?
Let's go get pizza.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. See you guys later. Have a good night, and we will see you again on Thursday at 7:00. All right. Thanks. Bye. I always try to shut it down